All right, how you all doing today? I have the wonderful Chef Mollie. I call her Chef Mollie, the Queen of Farm, right here with me today. How you doing, Mollie?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me this evening.
I'm glad to have you. Everybody was excited about you coming on today. Everybody loves when you come on. I think you give them a lot of hope, because you're a wife, a mother, business owner, farm. I don't know what you
Farmer.
farmer. I was trying to like you got so many hats in the food sovereignty advocate. What else? I know it's some more stuff I'm
Soil.
missing.
I'm a huge soil advocate. I think that all the most important thing for us to be protecting on the planet is the soil because it's the foundation of all life. So, soil advocate.
So yeah, so I think a lot of people hope, especially the women, because I think a lot of women nowadays want to aspire to do what you're doing. Maybe on like a large scale, maybe on a small scale, to be living off the land, being married, having a family that's all that kind of good stuff. So I think that's more what you're doing now is kind of trend setting. And I said this before, like you're actually the revolution because you're talking about being independent from everything and having your own. Yeah.
I just think it's super important for us to know how to do things. We live in a society where 90% of the jobs that anybody does is kind of is BS, is not really bringing, value. People are like, "Oh, I work for this brand. It's a celebrity. They're trying to do this thing, but it's a waste of money because this and they're just doing this so they have this." Or like, "I'm doing social media for this and I count whatever on this." It's just like jobs that make no difference and make nothing. And I'm of the last generation that can knit, sew, crochet, bake bread, you know, cook, all the things that women traditionally have done, and we're losing, and all the things men have traditionally done too. It's not like you're an expert at like chopping wood or something, you know what I mean? Like we're all kind of losing these things that were fundamentally important at one point, but we're just one like attack or solar flare or a terrorist attack or our own government trying to control us attack from literally needing all of those skills. So I don't think it's time to like let them go. I mean, my friend was joking, in another 50 years, if something happens and takes out all the computers, people are going to be like, okay, they used to have something called paper and they wrote on it with paper. Does anybody know where the paper is? Does anybody know how to write? Does anybody know how to read? The AI has been reading to us. Like we don't, like we're outsourcing so much, and we're surrendering so much of our resilience for convenience. And I really just want to encourage people to do real things, eat real food, spend time looking at each other in the eyes, like doing real things that don't involve a screen between you and your loved ones.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for a movie and it's a husband and wife and they want to have a child. The husband wants to do it the natural way, which is really kind of archaic in the film because basically the women are have been told that having a natural birth is just it's too time consuming. It's going to mess with your career, your emotions, your hormones. You go like it's like all the negative stuff. So they basically have a child in like a pod they carry around, and so the husband's like, I want to have the child naturally. The wife's like, I don't really want to do it. I have a career. I don't want to do it. So I guess he gives in and he says, okay, let's have it in the pod. But they want to have the pod birth at home, and then it's causing this big controversy. Like, oh, you can have a pod birth, but it's crazy because that is the near future. Like, and then she was jealous at one point because the pod she felt like the pod was bonding with. Now, keep in mind, it's like a big egg, but she felt like the pod was bonding with the husband because he was like carrying it around like he was It's crazy, Molly, but
So, but this is, I mean, we're not that disconnected yet, but all of the medical, the and this is going to sound crazy to people, but like everything we think of like as medical care for women around birth is really to disconnect us from God. Like I had one birth in the hospital and three births at home. And I made a if some after this people can go on my IG and listen to the thing actually like out just a few hours after I was like, I gave birth this morning and I say this thing 3 months ago. And I said, the privilege of being at home with my family, with my children, with my husband, sober, fully sober, and experiencing birth is the closest I'll ever be to God. And it's also the most powerful I'll ever feel in my entire life. And we drug ourselves for that moment. And we drug ourselves and we take away our power and we think we cannot do it. And I'm not saying that if you're high risk or that I don't want anybody like, oh, I tried to have a baby at home when I was a VBAC and high risk and 50 years old and she told me to and I didn't do it right. But no, but what I'm saying is generally we are totally capable of having babies and it is the most empowered we will ever feel and the closest to God, except for that when we're born and when we die, that we will ever feel. And so to drug ourselves for that or to be in a room with a bunch of strangers for that, I just recognize like in my birth process of this last child, I was like weeping for women that don't get to experience how beautiful it is to just be at home in your own bedroom with your own people and how amazing that is. And so I think that the pod thing is just the next step of disconnecting women from that. All of life comes through us. We are the bringers of life. And so many of us, and myself included, have a career and then we think, well, we'll do it later, do it later, do it later. Well, so many of my friends now there is no later. They're talking about freezing their eggs. They're talking about giving up on it, talking about, oh, I'll just adopt. And no judgment there, but the most profound thing in my life is my children and my husband, that family unit. And I almost didn't get to have it. I was 37 years old when I had my first child. So I almost didn't get that opportunity. And that's sad that I almost didn't. And I thank God that I did, because wow, that's a miracle that I waited all this time and I still was able to have 4 children.
So well, that is amazing, actually. And, I thought about that honestly when you mentioned your age to me last time. I thought about, I was like, man, she had like a lot of children after the time folks usually have children, and so, and it's crazy, Mollie, because you almost, I'm thinking about the revolutionary version of Little House on the Prairie, kind of like the post-apocalyptic version where everybody got the kids know how to shoot guns and fish, and you raising, doing all this stuff, but you're doing it in a world that's crazy around you. It's kind of like and somebody just mentioned going to the hospital and laying down having a birth, broken traditions. He said it doesn't make sense to lay down and have a birth. Did you were you like in a pool of water? Like, how'd you give birth at home?
So that's so funny. So my first 3 children, I had all of them on my back. And I hear people say like, oh, it doesn't make sense to have them on the back. But my first child was in the hospital and there was no choice about it. My second child, I was in the shower when my midwife got there and I said, I don't want to get out of the shower. And she said, well, I'm not getting in there and getting all wet. So you got to come out. And so I came out and then she was like, oh, you're about to have the baby right now. And this is a true story. My best friend was dying of cancer at the time that this baby was born. And I wasn't sure if I was really going to labor and I didn't want to bother her, but I texted her mom and said, I think I'm going to labor. But then it progressed really fast. And the second that the baby's head came out, the door opened to my bedroom and my midwife like automatically went to shut the door because it was, this is a private moment. Nobody should come in. And my best friend's little bald head that she had been having chemo came in to the room with her wheelchair. And she said, oh, you're almost there. The baby has more hair than you. And her mom helped her and she laid down on the bed with me and she died not very long after that. But she got to be with me and my daughter's middle name is Miranda for her. And then my third baby, I was like, for sure going to have it in the bathtub. And then I ended up having it on my back as well. But this last baby, I was kind of hiding out in the bathroom, not wanting to wake everybody up until I was sure that the baby was coming. And then just minutes after the midwife got there, I had it standing up, just standing up in the bathroom. But that did make the most sense to me. Like, oh, when I did it standing up, I was like, oh, I can see that that makes more sense than the other times. But at the other times, it felt right to be laying down, with the exception of the hospital birth.
Because gravity helps, right? If you're standing
Yeah,
up, yeah,
it gravity helps. And just your if you think about trying to lift weights or something, that's the only thing I can kind of think of to give you a sense of it. But the muscles in your stomach are pushing, and so if you think about that, it's harder to like lift from a laying down position. But if you were
yeah.
picking up weights from a standing up position, you can use your thighs, you can use all these other um muscles in your body. But no, and people said like you're 44 years old. I was just a month away from being 45. You're not gonna. You're high risk. You're. I literally didn't go to the doctor one time or even get an ultrasound, to tell the truth. Like, what was I gonna do if the ultrasound said I'm gonna get an abortion? No. So I just we did get a test to see if it was a girl or a boy super early, because with a blood test, because my daughter had been praying for a baby sister and she wanted to know. But I didn't even go to the doctor the whole time. I and didn't do an ultrasound, nothing.
See, and that's what I mean about kind of like revolutionary, not just with what you're doing, but even with having a child. And so I look at you as like the model for the future, and to give people hope, because you're actually doing it. I know it's not easy, but you're actually doing what we're gonna have to do eventually anyway, which is totally be independent of this system. We're talking about having births at home. Like back in the day, they used to say you were born in this house. You know, like old folks would say, like I was born in this house. You know, in 18 or 19. Oh, but it's just funny that you actually doing it though, because like
But I thank God my parents, my mother and father had me. My mom was 20, my dad was 19, or maybe my dad's 21, I don't know. They were really young. But and I was born at home on a chair. I don't know. I've seen pictures when my mom was in labor, she was sitting on a chair, but like just at home. And they had that foresight, and they had the foresight to not vaccinate me, and they had the foresight to have us eat really clean food. And I attribute vaginal birth, breastfeeding, clean food, no vaccines to the fact that I'm still able to have babies at the age that I am right now.
okay, so let me just talk about this real quick. I'm trying to figure out in my mind the way I grew up. I'm trying to figure out, was there any way that I could have came out like you, from a parents being aware stand, like from a parents knowing what's going on. I just can't see how it would have been possible. Like, nah, nah, I can't see it, because I was born at Sutter Memorial Hospital. I think my mom said she was breastfeed. I don't know what. I think she was breastfeeding me. Then she stopped, and then when she told me, I used to cry, and she just leave me in a room in the dark and close the door. And she said she would not come get me when I cried. And she said,
Yeah,
I start,
it's a sleep training thing. I'm not into it. I wear my baby. You see, I walk
yeah.
around with my baby strapped to my chest. I've had a baby. There was a gentleman came in one of my restaurants in Los Angeles, and he said, "You know what? It's my experience that you are breastfeeding or wearing a baby for the last several years, but it's always a baby." I said, "No, sir, that's my experience. I don't know what your experience is." But so yeah, no, I always wear my kids on my body. I'm really into the that they need physical touch. And I don't believe in the whole, I know people believe in that, and I'm not, parenting is such a personal thing, but I can't see how crying alone in the dark is going to make a secure adult that is going to feel good about the world.
So my
So,
mother, that was a bad tactic.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're out here, you're a revolutionary too. You're saying stuff that
Hey,
only you can say, and it's making a difference. So your path is divine for you and brought you to where you are. And you and I have crossed paths, and you'll learn whatever you need to learn from me, and I'll learn whatever I need to learn from you. I think that we all have the path that had us, God gave us the path or we chose, I don't know if we choose from up in heaven, or but we at some point we're in the place we're meant to be. And the question is, in this lifetime, will we go out on the skinny branches, take risks, and be the best version of who we can be based on what our parents gave us, or will we be the worst version, or will we just kind of coast through and not take any risks? My dad was talking to me about this yesterday. I was feeling, overwhelmed by things, and I was talking to him about it, and he said, yeah, you could have played safe, and your life would be feeling more safe. But he's like, but is that really, the path that you wanted to take? And is that the path that God wanted for you to take? And that's not where the work happens. The work doesn't happen in being comfortable. The work happens in being uncomfortable.
And I will say this, Molly, I think I'm a lot more loving than you know, my mother and father were. I would say they loved me, but it wasn't really like, kind of like, oh baby, come here, sit on my lap. No, it wasn't like that. But I'm more like that with children than my mother was. But
That's how my husband is. It's a whole new, like the unconditional love he experiences for his children is new. It's a whole new kind of thing that he didn't experience with his parents. And um, yeah, we talk a lot about healing whatever trauma you have in your childhood so your kids don't have to heal from the trauma.
yeah.
And I didn't have much trauma in my childhood. My parents were excellent. And even though they were really young and naive. And I've even had some of their siblings say, we're so lucky you and Ryland turned out so good because they just didn't know what they were doing. And I'm always like, oh, I'm so glad they didn't know what they were doing. They did a great job.
So I have a comment on the screen and it says the ultrasound by Prudence. The ultrasound is a scare tactic for older women to abort. No one can prove they say it's to find the defects and then what?
I agree that the ultrasound is a scare. I mean, I agree that most medical interventions are scare tactics. And I know two women personally that were told their babies were not viable and that they were going to lose the babies by 18 weeks, by however many weeks, and they should just get an abortion. One of these two women, they're sisters. One of them, the baby's totally normal. The other one, the baby had Down syndrome, but is a perfectly happy little baby. And they both, the one woman went, believed it, and then her kids like begged her not to and called her a bunch of times. She called me, and then she called my midwife, and my midwife was like, it's okay, just wait and see. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. You can come here, I won't charge you. You can, pass the baby. If it's passes away, you can come and I'll take care of you at the birth center. And so there's no cost or whatever. And so she said, well, I'll just take it day by day. And she took it day by day and got all the way to the end of the pregnancy, and the baby was fine. So I don't know, but they told me every time that my placenta, I had partial placenta previa, which means the placenta is blocking the opening and that you wouldn't be able to have in my other babies. That's why I didn't go this time. And then they would say, you have to come back every week for an ultrasound. And then I think it's just to make more money.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, it's two birds with one stone. You make money and you also tell the people to get an abortion too. It was kind of like you're doing both sides of the equation. Broken Tradition said that today's society makes women believe that having a baby is an inconvenience instead of a blessing.
Yes.
I mean, I agree with that. There was this tweet from Planned Parenthood. I think it's called Planned Parenthood Black Community. And anyway, they said that it's safer for a Black woman to abort the child than to have it. Like
I didn't see the tweet, but I saw people talking about it, but I couldn't find any statistics that actually prove that to be correct.
Oh no, listen, it's not true. But the fact that they would even tweet that is insane to me, to just encourage women to have an abortion over something that's not even true. Like, think about this. It's safer to have an abortion than to have a child. So I always ask, what is the end result of that? That's genocide. Like, it's over. Like, what's the solution to that? Just don't have any more children? No. It's insanity.
I mean, I do think that we're just at all levels trying to depopulate the planet from abortions to medications to chemicals in the water to, I mean, the amount of chemicals we put on our body every single day, there's forever chemicals and endocrine interrupters. I heard that women put 5 pounds of chemicals into their body from cosmetics and, deodorant and whatever every single year. And you got to get rid of it.
5 pounds of chemicals?
5 pounds of in terrible chemicals that your body has to, you're putting it on the largest organ of your body, and your liver or kidneys and everything has to get rid of that or can't get rid of it and surrounds it with fat. Even like all the fragrances, me and you have talked about this. You didn't like it, but the colognes, shampoos, conditioners, Old Spice, all those things that say fragrance, they don't have like lavender oil or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are endocrine interrupters, and they are operating your body like estrogen. And so they are making people be estrogen dominant. And then you add all the plastics in, but men are like literally slathering themselves with cologne and this and that. And those are all operating like estrogen in their body. Yeah. Just put that estrogen all over you. And then we're wondering why people can't get pregnant. I mean, the average sperm that a man is supposed to have in 2040, which my kids will be like 25, it's not that long, is zero. People ask me like,
zero sperm count.
Google it right now. You look up what's the average sperm count of a man in 2040, and it's going to be zero.
Average sperm count.
Projected sperm count or whatever. Yeah, but it's zero. It's zero. And so we've lost 50% of our sperm since the 1950s, and it's decreasing at a higher rate than that.
Oh my goodness.
It's at zero, right?
Oh my goodness.
And people just keep washing their face with these chemicals. Just, oh, it smells good. Let me put that secret on. Let me put that. No, don't use any fragrances.
It says this means that what does that mean? These are medium sperm counts, which means half the men in the Western countries will have no sperm. My goodness.
Yeah, people ask me why do I care so much about soil? Why do I care so much about food? Why do I care so much about what people put on their bodies? Endocrine interrupters, all this stuff. I want my children to be able to have children and eat food and drink water, breathe air, some basic
be human, right?
Yeah.
Stimulated Students says geriatric pregnancy is a made-up concept. These OBGYNs are nothing but Jiffy Lube mechanics. They have no clue.
I was a geriatric pregnancy from my first pregnancy, and I was really.
That just sounds so old. Like it's just hard. It's like geriatric sounds like in the 60s and 70s. Like 37. That's crazy.
So I was a geriatric pregnancy from my first, and I would have had my first baby. Just for clarification, I would have my first baby at home. But when I was 16, I flipped a car and I broke my coccyx bone, and I didn't know that. So I was having a home birth, and I couldn't progress, and I had to go to the hospital because the baby's fetal, whatever. But it turned out that my coccyx bone, they had to go up inside me and break my coccyx bone to get the baby out because it had healed wrong and it was blocking his head. So just for the record, I would have had all my babies at home if I could have. But I did have one hospital birth, and I'm grateful in that case. I think that the medical system has a place when there's an emergency, when there's a broken bone, when you get in a car accident, you've lost blood. I think there's a place, but I would have, in the olden house on the prairie that you're talking about, I could have just died trying to get that baby out. But, so I'm grateful for that. But I think we just go to medicine for everything. Oh, I have a headache. Let me take some Tylenol. Oh, I got a rash. I think I need to go to the doctor. Like, you got to go to the doctor for a rash?
So I guess my question is, how can a person, what's the alternative to, I guess, colognes? You said no oils either, right?
No, if it's 100% essential oil, and with a carrier oil, that's fine. But they
all
still
100% essential
oils. But if you, like, for example, it wants to be from a natural thing. You know, anywhere
Yeah.
it says fragrance, they don't have to tell you what's in it at all. And a lot of these fragrances are super chemically. My mom calls me the canary in the coal mine because I get my tongue gets swelled up from people's cologne in my throat. And I'm like, oh, those fucking chemicals. And my mom's like, well, it's doing that to everybody. You're just more sensitive. You're the canary in the coal mine.
Somebody just told me my sperm count's gonna be 0 because I'm drinking this bottle of water.
Is it in a plastic bottle of water?
Well, they said the BPA free. That's not a real thing.
No, the problem is the paraffins, I mean, and the PFSA. I mean, there's just so much stuff. But here's the thing, you can't get totally crazy and like, I'm never going to drink a bottle of water ever again. But yes, you should not drink out of plastic. We should all, I mean, I heard this thing. I stopped drinking coffee through the lid because I heard that you get like 8,000 times more microplastics than is safe from just one to go cup from coffee because it's the fresh cut every time. And so older, you know, some plastic that is like a Tupperware, it gets washed, the pieces are like gone. But on a fresh coffee lid, you're getting so much plastic because the cut happens and all the little dust is on it, and then you're the first one to put your mouth.
So I got to go back to getting the glass bottles of water.
Yes, sir. And no cologne, and unscented shampoo and conditioner, and whatever kind of shea butter or whatever you use, all unscented.
Well, I have the unscented shea butter. I don't
Great.
really use it, but I have actually use Dr. Bronner's. You know what I'm talking about? The
Yeah, I think it's a really good product. He did go woke during he paid his employees to get vaccinated. I actually know the guy. I think he's a really great guy. And
No, he did that.
what?
Dr. Bronner did that.
And I'm good friends with, I mean, my brother's really good friends with him. I've met him, I've given him farm tours. I wouldn't say I'm good friends with him, but I was disappointed in that, in paying his employees for that. But I think he does a lot of good in other ways. And I am a big, huge fan of we need to be able to disagree and still see each other's divinity, still see each other's what you are bringing to the world. And so I don't agree with that, but he
Well,
is.
I think the problem is that the media supports, like, folks that disagree with you, they have the media supporting them, Hollywood, like everything supports them. So it's hard for them to think that you're not the bad person when everything around them is telling them that you're the bad person. So it's a lot more difficult nowadays. Back in the day, you could disagree and it wouldn't even matter. But now, somebody disagrees with me, you got Kamala Harris saying, "Yep, he's a bad person." You know, so it's tough.
Yes. But I mean, it's interesting. I think a lot of people just like went with the wave. We've talked about this. You say I can tell in 5 minutes if they went with the wave or not. And and
About 5 minutes. You'll know.
but I think that that's true. I think people get caught up in it. It's like when you were a kid and you got drunk at a party, or I don't know, smoked pot at a party because everybody else was doing it. I think that like grown people acted like that, like peer pressure. And I didn't have that experience, but I'm privileged to live in a life where I'm the boss. Eh, I'm the one making the decisions at my job. So there wasn't any pressure, and nobody was pressuring me because I was very vocal from the very beginning. Like, oh, no.
But you also agree that you were raised a little bit differently. Like you were raised, your parents were kind of more forward thinking. Would you say that?
Yes, my parents, I always said my parents were hippies, and I always thought of them as liberal, but they did always vote Republican. But yeah, they were kind of this blend of yeah, we had a lot of God in our life, and they were very kind of free thinking and letting people be how they were be be. But yeah, I definitely had a different kind of life. I definitely had a lot of rope to hang myself, and a lot of support when I did. And so I had a lot of support. Um
So I guess my other question is, what about natural deodorant?
Yeah. There's like good tallow deodorants and that don't have any chemicals in them. There's one called Viking that my husband likes. It's all natural tea tree oil. This guy's saying you should get the oils from the Muslims.
He's joking. He's joking.
He's joking.
Yeah, he's
I don't
joking.
know where the oils come from.
Um, we got another comment on here. My melanin protects my sperm count, and I'm a pure blood. Um, so you said Viking deodorant.
Yes.
Hope y'all writing this stuff down because I'm gonna go look at these products.
And then there's some good tallow deodorants out there that are, I mean, back in the day we didn't put any chemicals. We didn't use Vaseline, which is a petroleum product. We used tallow on our body, or we used beeswax and olive oil, but we didn't use all these other things that we use now.
Now when I was a child, it was customary.
Vaseline.
Yes, come on now.
I
That's
do
why
know that.
I'm trying to figure out how I could have avoided this the way I grew up, and I just can't see how I could have avoided it. I can't because Patrol, listen, Vaseline, Vicks Vapor Rub, NyQuil.
But that's why I think this project that we're doing in Texas is so important, that having these like 30 tiny houses on a ranch, there's going to be cows getting milked and all that, people could come out and experience living with nature, because how many people grew up like you and have no idea about anything, about not anything about but anything about
No, I mean
where our
most
food
of them.
comes from. You know a lot about a lot, but when you came to my farm the first time, you were like, what? So to get a grapefruit, you need to plant a tree and wait 5 years till it starts making grapefruit. And I'm like, yeah. You're like, that takes some planning. I'm like, yeah, it takes some planning. And so people don't know, like, what's a perennial, what's an annual, what's going to grow fast, what's grow short, like all these things. And if we're going to be ready for any type of, people talk about, we're going to have other, a different, the world's going to split and there's going to be this other underground market. Well, we're going to have to be able to do things for this you know what I mean? It's going to have to be able to grow things and make things and produce things.
Somebody made a comment and they said that she also does, this is Tori, she also doesn't eat meat. Ask her about that. You're not having to digest flesh. I guess not helping out your body odor, I guess. I'm assuming that's what she means.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I don't eat meat, but I think
No,
that,
she's talking about you. Like you don't eat meat, so it might help your body odor not be bad if you're not
oh yeah,
digesting flesh.
I don't wear deodorant at all myself, but I'm not a real sweaty person, so, but I don't know if that has to do with being vegetarian or not, but I it could be. My best friend that passed away, she was also a vegetarian, but she was like super sweaty. Like it was just her. I think it has to do with your metabolism. I have a really slow metabolism, and so uh, I don't get very sweaty. So it's not like a very big problem, but it could be about not eating meat. But I don't know.
Lover, how's Texas going? Has she moved yet?
I've not moved. We're making a lot of progress in Texas. We're raising money for the brewery slash event space retreat center right now on Sovereignty Ranch. I'm hoping to be there by Christmas. We're going to be there for a whole month, September to October. Blanchard's coming out. We're doing a really fun kind of festival under the eclipse. We're in the path of totality for the eclipse in April and in October. So we're doing a fun little festival with speakers and music, and we're getting glamping tents, and there's going to be all regenerative food for 3 days. And Blanchard's going to be one of the speakers, and a bunch of other really cool people. Alex Zek is coming, and Mike Winter is going to talk about cryptocurrency. I'm going to talk about regenerative agriculture. Kelly Brogan is going to talk about psychological stuff. Eileen is going to do the tuning forks, like tuning fork frequency medicine, and investigate all different kinds of topics of the world today.
And it's on the screen here on Instagram, Confluent, October 12th through the 15th.
Yeah.
And is that
Bandera.
Bandera, Texas? My face is covering up the Bandera, Texas.
And yep, and if you want to buy tickets, you should put in Blanchard 10 to get 10% off.
Yeah, if you all want to buy tickets, my code is Blanchard10. You get 10% off. So write down Blanchard10 in here somewhere, somebody.
But yeah, it's going to be awesome. 3 full days. Me and my husband are curating all the food, and all the farmers that are growing the food are going to be there. We're going to do a panel. We're going to record like a live podcast with all the farmers talking about regenerative food. So we're going to have Force of Nature doing hamburgers, and we're going to have Oatman's Flats doing the wheat and the pancakes and the pizza bread and all of that. My farm here in California is going to do all of the vegetables. And then there's a pork farmer for people that do eat pork, Zanzenberg Farm in Texas as well. And so all of those farmers, you'll get to hear from them as well as eat the food that they grew, which is a unique experience to be in a place eating food of the land from that land.
Someone said, will there be steak?
Yes.
So there will be steak.
Yes.
So you can come. She said she'll come with their steak. So you can come. Somebody, are you a hippie?
I don't know. Hippies are from like a long time ago. So I'm a mother that really is concerned about the future of her children.
So again, I don't think that hippies were on a love movement. They were all about being free and being just do what you want to do, be high, have sex. I think Mollie is more on the survival of humanity movement. Having food sovereignty, being away from the system. So I wouldn't call her a hippie. I'd call her more like a revolutionary, just in my opinion, because in the future, when all the meat is lab grown and you got some world leader of a one world government talking about you got to do this and they're going to block the sun on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So again, being sovereign is going to be the way. So I wouldn't call her a hippie. So it's a little deeper than that. Hippies are just, it was just out of having.
I believe that growing food and having clean water and doing less trade in the outside world, that is the revolution. That we being together, having community, having unity, that is the revolution. And we have been so comfortable for so long that we no longer have strength and stamina that we need. And we need strength and stamina for whatever's coming. And there's people that disagree with me. You often do lives with Che, and he thinks that there's no way they're going to let people grow food, and that you have to be prepared in other ways. And I respect that opinion. And I don't know how it's going to go, but we all feel that something is coming.
Che said that.
Yeah. He's like, they're not going to let you just farm and be okay. And people here that are starting their homesteads. And I remembered it because it hit me in the heart. I was like, oh.
Hold on. In California or where? Just in the United States, period?
Just in the United States, period. He was saying like, and I mean, he was saying you need to have guns, you need to have, and I 100% agree with all of that as well. Of course, you can't have anything without being able to protect it because, but I do think that clean food, if you would like type in the AI, like what is the next 5 years, what are going to be the biggest businesses? I mean, it tells you that like healthy, clean food is one of the things, because people are starting to realize that we are being poisoned on so many different levels. And me and you are joking about the soap and this and that, but people get overwhelmed. They don't even really want to know. They don't want to know because it seems like too much.
Yeah.
My dish soap, the plastic bags, my car has endocrine interrupters, my furniture, the water, and you just start to want to shut down. And so my request is people don't get overwhelmed and don't start to shut down. Just start to take baby steps, learning things, learning to do things, learning to be more self-sufficient. because the more that we can be self-sufficient, and then the other thing is we need to come together. Why it's so hard, what me and my husband are doing right now, is that we're just working other jobs to help pay for the farm, and we need community. The reality is that we need people to come together and do this together, but we don't trust each other anymore. So the freedom movement and the conscious movement, the anti-vax, whatever kind of movement you're in, we got to learn to trust each other, and we got to learn to build community, because nobody can do this alone. The economics of it are crazy, just trying to do it alone and paying people to do every job. Has to be a community effort, but I don't really know how to encourage people to do that. But I encourage everybody to build community and food and start to figure out a plan.
Well, here goes my thoughts, right, on all of this. I just feel like people that trust God, they're going to see some miraculous things happen. So I just think that God wants us to own the land, be fruitful and multiply, subdue the earth and replenish it. So those were the first commandments that God gave man and woman, and it dealt with man and woman not just procreating, but also working the land. And so to me, if that's God's divine order, then I don't see how there wouldn't be a place for that in this world if we're actually carrying out what God wants us to do. So I'm not going to say that all's going to be lost, but I will say that I'd rather be fighting for my land than fighting in some alley somewhere in a green zone city. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather be fighting for something that's mine versus fight, because you're going to fight either way. So I'd rather fight.
I'm mad that you're not in Tech. I moved to Texas because it was your idea, and then Blanchard's sitting in my living kitchen on the bar, and he goes, "I mean, this is really cool what you got going on here, but when the shit hits the fan," or maybe he didn't say shit, but he goes, "When it all goes to whatever, you're gonna look to the left and look to the right. There's nobody to help you fight." And he was like, "The redneck. That is the last great hope for America." And I'm looking at this man in my kitchen like, what is he talking about? And then I start looking around at my neighbors, and I'm like, he's right. Nobody's going to help me fight to save this. And he was like, "You got to move to Texas." And I thought he was ridiculous. But in time, I literally started to see the genius of what he was saying. And he's still not moved to Texas yet, though.
I mean, it's not, it's not over, Molly. I might, you know.
But you're coming to visit in October, so that is a start.
See, the thing is, right, I got to get used to living out of the city
Yeah,
environment. I got to get used
you
to it.
have traded your resilience for convenience, just like we all have.
I went to your farm and I was like, goodness. I was like, shit. Yeah. I loved it, but I was like, shoot, every day, goodness. But yeah, so that's what I got to get used to. But at the end of the day, I do believe that's God's plan. Um, a farm, land, and all that. So I do agree with that 1,000%. So yeah, uh, Katie says she wants you to pick her to come to your farm.
Is Louisiana on the way from? I don't know. She might have to make her way there, but
It actually is on the way, I think. Yeah.
no, it's on for you. It's on the way. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she's talking to you. I was like, it's not on the way for me.
Yeah.
She's telling you to pick her up on the way. It is on the way from your what direction?
But you brought up something good. I just want to say, like, what you said is 100% correct, in that people are overwhelmed. So you say, like, for example, I can't wear cologne. No. Plastic bottles, BPA free. No. Impossible meat. No.
Definitely no.
Right.
Hard no.
So you know what I'm saying? So you like,
And that's come from vegetarian. I'm saying I'm a vegetarian, and I'm saying I will rather eat a steak than an Impossible Burger. And I've never eaten a steak. I've never eaten meat my whole life.
So for the average person, that's very overwhelming to think that your whole life has to be changed. But I think about the Matrix, right? And I think about Neo was in the Matrix, and he's like, I can't go back, right? He's like, no. Like even after he saw the truth, he was like, it's too much. Like I don't know if you remember the movie, but he even threw up. Like he got so overwhelmed, he even got dizzy and threw up. He's like, I can't go back, right? And Morpheus like, no, you can't go back. And he was like, dang, I got to. This is reality. Like I'm on a ship in the sewers. Like, but that's the truth, Molly. This is where we got to be. This is the truth.
And here's the thing: we all got to draw a line in the sand.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's certain things that I just made up a while ago that this is a line in the sand, and like the pokety pokies and stuff like that. But I, I'm a hard no. Today, I just had to give my face and my whatever for some stupid thing for the IRS, and I was like so mad about it. And then, but I did it because I'm like trying to deal with whatever I'm trying to deal with. And then, but like I'm a hard no on a chip in my body. I'm a hard no. So I've already said to my husband, like, if we just have no more money, like I just want you to know, like I'm a hard no on the chip in my body of any kind. And he knows that, like, and he was like, I get that. Okay, we're a hard no. And you know what's crazy is my stepmom in 18 years ago brought our whole family together, my stepmom, and she made us all promise if anybody ever tries to put a chip in you, you don't do that. And it's the mark of the beast, and no. And I said, sure. 18 years ago, I just thought my stepmom was just on something. And then I just asked her about it last weekend. We were together, and I was like, "Do you remember this?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "What made you think about that?" And she's like, "I don't know. They were putting it in dogs, and I just started to think if they're going to start putting it in kids, it's not okay." And so I promised 18 years ago that I wouldn't do it, and like that's going to be my line in the sand. But I feel like we need to prepare. So if I think that line in the sand, whatever it is for you guys, if you think that line is coming, we have to prepare for that. And that's what
Everybody
I'm
on
trying
this
to do.
live, everybody on this live should be hard line in the sand against any kind of device in the body. Like it's not even a discussion,
But
honestly.
if you can't transact financially in the world when that happens, we need to have a plan. Because yeah, I'm a hard line for that. But then what happens when you can't get your Impossible Burger without that thing?
Well, I wouldn't be eating Impossible Burgers. But I know I
But
see what
I'm
you're
just
saying.
saying we have to
Yeah,
have a cow that you can kill, and you have to have already learned. I mean, my husband is like learning how to butcher he got like the blade, the big saw thing for, like it's like an electric huge thing that can cut animals up. I was like, is that crazy? I don't know if it's crazy, but if it comes to that I can't transact, he's gonna still be able to feed the family and make deodorant out of tallow.
so I got a comment on the screen. Um, Good points. My ex snorted, has smelly feet. I spent 5 years with him as a vegan, and he stopped snoring and his feet stopped smelling. He looked so good. He left me for a younger model. I don't know, but back to the hard line in the sand. Yes, we do. This is where we are. So, I mean, I agree. I'm thinking about in my life now. How could I have been prepared for this through my family? And I'm gonna say this from a cultural standpoint. This is my opinion. Black culture, black families are going to have a tough time with this just because the amount of time and learning curve and information is not going to be there. Um, and I think that black culture, black people are more caught up on trusting CNN, trusting the government, trusting, and you're going to be unprepared. I mean, like my family,
And comforts like comforts of indoors seem culturally more important. Like the comforts of being indoors, in outdoors being hot 12 hours a
yeah,
day.
yeah,
This specific moment in um, culture, it seems important. And we do a lot of like church tours and um, school tours and buses. I've sent you pictures of buses of kids that were doing tours around our farm. And I've had grown women weeping because they smelled an herb that they can remember from their grandmother or great
Mm.
grandmother garden. And she's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's for hypertension and blah, 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 blah." And just like weeping, like, can I need this? Like, just, and I think there's so much to be reconnected with if people take the time to be outside and in nature and at farms and smelling and being in um, our connection with the earth and the soil is divine. And the way we can know that is that 70% of the microbiology in healthy soil overlaps with a healthy gut. And so we are of that soil. God made that we are going to eat the food of the soil. We're going to replenish the microbiology in our gut, and we're going to continue to be healthy. Most of us eat a completely sterile diet that's been bleached and dipped in whatever kind of chemicals to have none of that living microbiology. But if you think about your great grandmother, or I don't know, maybe not yours, but think about somebody's great
No,
grandmother.
my great grandmother probably did like, this stuff. Like,
Like, she will cut a cabbage
yeah,
from the garden, rinse
yeah,
it off, chop it up, ferment it in a crock, and make sauerkraut,
yeah.
and then put that on your meat to help you digest your meat. Have this fermented sauerkraut with all that microbiology of the soil, of the thing. We don't do that anymore. The cabbage we eat has been dipped in even organic, in a Clorox solution in order to keep it from, it's not Clorox, but like a bleach solution. To and it's a certain percentage that it can be for organic versus non-organic, but we're dipping it in, and even organic chicken, they're being dipped in bleach. And the thing is that is killing all the microbiology. We're drinking water that has bleach in it, has Clorox in it, chlorine in it. We're taking showers in chlorine. So the divinity of the relationship between earth and the people of earth is that microbiology is always being replenished by what we're eating, we're touching, we're breathing, we're swimming in a stream, we're bathing in a stream. Like, we're always replenishing that. And we live in a world where we are never, never, never replenishing that. And we're having autism, mental illness. I would venture to say that gut health is directly connected to mental health. And people want to scream about gun control. And I'm like, how about we just try to get people to eat real food again so their microbiology bounces out, and so that they're not feeling crazy because their gut health, they're so unhealthy inside their body. We are so disconnected and sterile, and we are not meant to be sterile. We're not meant to be afraid of germs. We're not meant to be afraid of poop. People had been dealing with their own poop, dealing with their animals' poop for thousands of years. And people say, "Oh, well, then people died, and that's why." Well, I mean, why we even homogenize and boil milk is because they brought cows into the city and then were feeding them garbage, and then people got sick and died. And then we were like, "Oh, we need to now homogenize, sterilize milk." No, we took something that was a superfood that was totally healthy in its live bacteria-filled state, and we made it something that was completely unhealthy because we had brought cows into a city, which is also totally unhealthy. So, to
Um,
me, we all need to get back onto the land.
somebody said, Dave Shelley said, 5 keys to survival. She says, country living, growing your own food, having a ministry or business, and helping others.
I agree.
There's one more I missed. I think she put
I hope it's family.
conversion. She said conversion, country living, growing your own food, having a ministry or business, and helping others.
I
Those
would
are
say
five.
I would say having faith,
Okay.
family, and growing your own food, and living in and around and with nature, because in nature you can see the divinity of God every single day. If you go right now on the Kiss the Ground website, there's an 11-minute film about my farm in California on the homepage. And in the opening sequence, I say, you can call it science if you want, but if you spend time watching nature, you're present to miracles every single day that there's no way you can't believe and have faith. If you think about one kernel, one corn cob, and you think about all those corns in a row, like have you ever eaten corn on the cob? And
Yeah.
they're all perfectly in a row. Every single one of those kernels, there was a piece of corn silk, and that piece of corn silk had to be sexualized by the opposite sex of pollen. And then it had to pull that piece of pollen all the way down the piece of corn silk and put it in the place. And that had to happen in perfect rows from the way the wind blew the corn to have that happen. And then people are like, yeah, it's just science. Like, get out of here. Like if you can't look at that. And so I think that being with and in and around nature and also growing your own food gives you such a profound appreciation for all that God provides for us. And I think it's easy to be disconnected when we're just getting it in the store, packed in plastic, through a drive through. We can really get disconnected to how much work went into it and how much bounty God has really provided for us on this planet.
You mentioned something that's kind of profound, and you mentioned, being out in nature and knowing that God is real. And I think the purpose of these cities was to do just the opposite of that. You go into a city and you marvel at the man-made structures, whether they be buildings. Obviously, you got electricity, sidewalks, streets, people. So you kind of lose touch of what God actually created. You think about it, what's really God created in the city? It's all man-made. But when you go out to the country, everything is God-made. So I agree with you 1,000% that it changed your perspective on waking up every day and you hear the birds. I remember being in Africa, years ago, and I was in Ghana, and I remember right outside of my window where I was staying, there was this rooster. And I remember we were leaving the club one night and we were walking on the sidewalk going, back to my place. And the rooster's walking with us. But he's like walking to go to his little spot to get up there and start cock-a-doodle-doodling because it's about to be sunrise.
Yep.
And I was like, this is so, like the rooster knows it's crazy, it's instinctual. I'm the alarm clock for nature. So my job is to get everybody up. But yeah, he's right outside of my window too. It was crazy. But you appreciate nature like once you have to be, in it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that my kids are having a great life. I mean, it's not like they don't have a modern life and get to watch TV or play games or, go to fun places. But I mean, my daughter got up this morning and she got her cup and she put a scoop of organic chocolate in it. She walked out and with her big brother, milked the cow into the cup and mixed it around and then had her hot chocolate straight out of the cow, all the microbiology intact. That cow is living in the exact same environment that my daughter's living in. So all the microbiology, all the fighting nutrients that she's would be giving to her baby is to keep that baby healthy in that environment. So it's going to do the same for my baby. I mean, and that's extraordinary. And again, it's proof like God exists the way that the breast works, that it can tell what is in nature that could be a threat, and then it makes the counter to that for its child.
I thought it was amazing being on Mollie's farm. There were like all these goats, but these goats acted like dogs. They like ran to the fence, like they knew somebody new was on the farm. So like they all ran over there, wanted to get petted. Listen, I was naive. I thought farm animals had no personality, but they actually do. So I remember her cow was sitting over there. I remember her cow, and the cow looked at me like, "Oh, he's new." Like the cow didn't get up, but it just looked at me like, "I know you're new," and it just gave me like a real look. I was just like, kind of threw me for a second. Then
Oh no, the cows all have different personalities. At just like it's crazy. People don't think about that because, and I think that's good. My kids have all seen a cow be harvested and they are fully aware, and some of them eat meat and some of them don't. But I think that to think that cows are just like all this homogenous thing and they're all exactly the same is not true. Some cows are total punks and like let other cows beat them up, and some cows are, attention hogs. We have this one cow, Hilda, and she was rejected from a big factory farm dairy because she wanted too much attention from all of the people that work there, just always trying to rub on everybody. She's like a wants hug snuggles. And so she's fine for a family farm. She's not good for a factory farm.
And then she had two horses, and she had two horses and one little pony.
Pony.
And it's crazy because she gave me something to give them, and I saw the horses like try to kick the little pony. I give get out of here. This is, you know. But my point is, the animals have personality, and I think it's by design through propaganda to make us believe that, like for example, cows are just like this homogenous group of animals, like you say. Like they kind of make us de-animalize the animals, that so we don't look at them as like, I guess, like something you could actually love and, you know, have a good time with. But they all have personality: the cow, the horses, the goats, the dogs.
I mean, you often talk about masculinity and like what it takes to be a man, and I think it's an important topic in this world today. Um, the last cow we harvested, I mean, my husband pulled it out of the mother. It was born on Halloween a couple years ago, and took his shirt off and wiped her down, and she was choking, and he saved her, and him. And then he took care of him for 2 years, and now my husband is eating him. I don't eat meat, but my husband is eating him. And I would say that that is as masculine or manly, like that. It like he helped
He
that
ate the
cow.
cow. He ate the calf.
Yes, but you, why would that be wrong? He loved that
No, it's
cow,
not wrong.
gave it
It's
a
just
good
that I
life,
just
and then he did what needed to be done in order to provide for his community and family, and that is like to be able to care, but also to do the hard thing when it's necessary. That is like the definition of masculinity.
I would have got attached.
I know. I went and like sung a song and prayed with the cow the day before it was gonna go.
I would have got attached to the cow because I'm like, I'm wiping off this, making sure the cow's alive. Yeah, I would have been like,
I'm not
um,
even. What would you really have jumped in there and helped pull it out and take your shirt off and
I mean,
wipe it?
no, listen now. I'm a pro. Listen, I'm not gonna let none like. Listen, I'm not like, I don't care
You're
about
not
blood
gonna
and all
let
that.
anything die.
Yeah, no, I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna do that. Like, I'm not, you know, I don't mind blood and all that stuff. I'm just talking about. I can imagine me raising a little cow, and then it's just like, I don't eat beef anyway, so it wouldn't be a cow. So y'all animals safe around me. The cow's safe, the goat's safe, the
Do you eat
pig
chicken?
safe,
Do you eat chicken?
the chicken safe,
You don't eat any meat?
fish. Honestly, I can give up. Listen,
One day I'm gonna have a talk with you about. I think that nose to tail, grass fed, grass finished beef is the best for the whole, for all of the planet, if you're gonna eat protein from an animal.
but
But
plants have protein, right?
yes, for sure. They do. Um,
I look
do
at
I
gorillas.
recommend what?
I look at gorillas,
Yeah,
elephants. I look at these animals that eat all plants. They like, I'm like, it's possible, you know.
it is possible, but here's my thing. I own vegan restaurants. Like I'm not trying to convince anybody not to eat meat. But what I'm gonna say is that bovine on pasture is the best thing that we can do for the soil. And if we do that in a responsible way, that is the best of the best. And so if we're gonna eat, I'm here's the thing. I did a podcast yesterday and the guy said, shake the hand that feeds you. That was his expression. And I like that. I like the shake the hand that feeds you. Like if we all really tried to eat some percentage of our diet locally and shake the hand of the person who's
Yeah,
growing that food,
yeah.
cooking that, growing that food or harvesting that food or raising that cattle, I think we'd be in a much better position as a society.
Hold on,
And,
buddy. I have some questions. I know. Hold on.
sorry, go ahead.
Don't you train of thought. Do you recommend for people to do a cleanse and detox? And if so, how often?
I recommend people eat clean all the time, but yes, I do. I think that cleansing is super important. I also think water fasts. Um, I haven't got to do a water fast because I've literally been breastfeeding or pregnant for 10 years, but I really want to, and a bunch of my friends have had miraculous results with the 21 days of water fasting, or even just several days of water fasting. Miraculous results. I've done other stuff in the past, like the master cleanse or juice cleanses, and I think that they can be really important to reset your metabolism, reset your stuff. But we can also get addicted to them as kind of like a crutch, like, oh, I'm gonna go party and and then go um, cleanse. But I think eating clean, consistently eating in a consistent manner that's in alignment with your moral compass, and that's different for everybody, is important.
Um, what I was gonna say something.
She said that she just recently became vegan, all plant based. I'm 50 days in. Congratulations. I hope she's feeling great. And I also think, what blood type are you, Blanchard? I think that it depends on what your blood type is. I think A blood types are better designed to be vegetarian or vegan. And I think O blood type, it's almost impossible to be healthy on that diet. I think
I,
that
I think I'm the blood of Jesus type. No, I'm
the
sorry.
blood disease.
No, I mean I don't know my blood type. I know I got it written down on some paperwork somewhere. I don't know. But you said O is meat and A is vegan.
Or vegetarian. Yeah, it's easier to be.
Well, I haven't eaten beef in 26 years, and I haven't eaten pork in probably like 29 years, and I probably
I've never eaten
yeah,
either.
and I haven't eaten chicken in probably about 5 years. I mean, I don't know.
Um, can I answer Chad's uh
Oh yeah, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
so all these people are moving from California to Texas, and I think there's two kinds of people that are moving, and I think one is obviously a problem, and but I think the other is someone like me that's a political refugee, and their business was destroyed and their livelihood was destroyed. I think we're going to be hyper vigilant to not want that to happen in Texas, but I think that people are moving because their job moved there, because they work for Tesla or Facebook or whatever. Um, that could be a problem. And I think about that a lot when I look at the makeup of Texas and I see Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and those are similar to how most of California is red. Most of California is conservative, but the bureaucracy has spread everywhere from the cities. And currently, what I love about Texas and why I chose to move to where I moved was the ease of building, the ease of doing infrastructure. I mean, this project that I'm doing in Texas, I'm probably saving like $500,000 in permits alone, just because of how it's there's very limited things that need a permit in that area. But I think that people like me will be vigilant because they know what they fled from. But people that are just moving because their job moved there, it's going to be a problem. But I always tell people, don't go somewhere else and try to make it something different. Go there because you would enjoy what it is and respect the culture of where you're moving to.
Now you know good and well these people from these liberal places go to these places and try to spread it like a virus. Not you, because you obviously got some sense, but these folks move to these places and want to just turn it. It just doesn't make any sense. You leave a place because of how bad it is, and you go to a new place to make it like the place where you left. Like it's just pure decadence.
It's crazy, but you leave. People say, "Oh, I'm leaving." I, my ex husband moved to Austin because the cost of living here was too much. But he's fully believes, you know, everything that's on CNN. And so it's interesting to me to think, and he joked, like, because I had already bought my house in Texas, and then he told me he was moving there. I said, "Why are you moving there?" He's like, "Oh, I just have to vote for Beto, so to counterbalance your vote." And I was like, "That's the stupidest thing. Are you for real?" But that's not why he moved. But
I was about to say,
he was joking. But I mean, he believes strongly in all that stuff, and he's like, but it's amazing, people's work ethic is better here, and people, are helping each other more, and all, and the cost of living is less, and the cost of groceries is less. But why does he not put that together, that it's the policies of thinking that the government should handle everything that has made California the way that he's fleeing from?
and I think it's because what the government in California does well is distracting you with a moral issue. So it's homelessness, it's racism, it's all this stuff. So you're thinking, oh, they're doing this stuff because it's something good. When in actuality, it's not good at all because it's not true what they're even saying. You spending billion dollars a year on homelessness, and it's more homeless people coming. Like, it don't make any sense. Like, how y'all spending more money and it's more homeless? Like, where is the money going? It doesn't make any sense. But all folks care about is the virtue signaling. Where I don't know, it's just disgusting. The last time I was home, which was 2 years ago, I might go back this summer, but it was the amount of homeless folks I saw and people on meth, and just like, I'm like, what in the world is going? Like, and people just like it's normal. Just homeless people everywhere. People just like they just walking past. I'm like, this is not normal. But
It is crazy. I have a restaurant on Sunset Boulevard on the corner, and there is a little, like, two parking places that are allowed for um seating because of COVID, because people are still scared to eat inside, I guess. And so they've given us these outdoor stuff. So we have these barricades that barricaded two parking spaces and plants, and it looks pretty. Imagine that. And then now every morning we're cleaning up feces in this little area because people are going poop in there, because it's a nice little private area with trees and stuff and tables to hide behind. And it's like, we have umbrellas so the sun is not bright on people, and the street something compliance came out and fined us because we have umbrellas, and that the COVID seating, you're only allowed to have tables and chairs, no heaters, no umbrellas. And I'm thinking to myself, this is what they're spending their time doing, is writing me a ticket for having an umbrella over the tables that I'm legally allowed to serve food at. And on Mother's Day, a man came into our restaurant, got completely naked, spit in the manager's face, and then said things that I kept, just screaming, like, that the people in the restaurant, you want to F me, naked on all fours with multiple generations of women having Mother's Day brunch. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not fair for my staff. This is not fair. They call the police, they call 911. He won't leave. He's naked. He's in the restaurant. The restaurant's full. It's Mother's Day. And 2 hours later, a social worker comes, and this social worker says, I'm here to help the distressed, unhoused person. And no police ever came.
see, here's my issue with California too. Like, it's too much social pressure to just get bullied by the degenerates. Like, if a man comes to my restaurant naked on Mother's Day, he finna get up out of there, and it's gonna be in the worst way. Like, I'm not finna. We caught up on it. We got no. Y'all get the gloves. Let's go. We get them out of there. So whether you go out through the back door or the front door, you getting up out of there. It's too much. We gotta wait. I just saw a video. A lady is butt naked in the grocery store, butt naked. She looked like a some kind of hybrid, because she had like 4 sets of breasts, 3, 4 stomachs. She looked crazy. And then She was butt naked. She had put some cake frosting in her butt. She was crazy. But anyway, she's literally tearing up the bakery department. She's destroying it. She's stepping on cakes, and they're just watching, helpless. I'm like, what in the world? Like, do you know how insane this is? They're just sitting there like, oh, we gotta wait for. I'm like, what are y'all? Do you know? Oh my goodness!
But you're not even allowed to tell your employees. You're not even allowed. My employee that in that restaurant the day on the Friday before Mother's Day tried to physically take someone out of the restaurant, and like you're not even allowed to do that. It's literally like we then told him like, just so you know, you don't have to engage, blah 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 blah, because you're not even supposed to touch, move, anything. And it's crazy because people get crazy and you're just supposed to just like, oh, it's not my responsibility. Do you want to, I'm wondering if my husband needs to give me the baby, but I don't know. He just walked by, but no. Okay. The gut is the first brain. That is true. The gut is the first brain, and a healthy gut leads to everything else. But your body, so much of the intelligence of your body comes from a healthy gut. And so this woman's comment is true.
I just okay. Listen, I have a feeling about homeless people in general, and I feel like most homeless people are not good people, and I say this because a homeless person's existence is literally on the kindness of somebody else. Literally, somebody saying, "I'm going to give you this. I'm going to do this for you." So that's their existence. Otherwise, they would starve to death. If they had to go out there and just fend for it, they would starve.
I
Now,
think
I say they're not good people most of the time because you would think if people are helping you every day constantly, somebody is showing some kindness to you, you could at least keep the area clean. Like a bare minimum, don't defecate at somebody's business. Don't like and to me, I see it all the time. I see where homeless people are, they destroy the area. I'm like, why are y'all destroying the area if people are not bothering you, letting you stay there? So I know it's an unpopular opinion. I know people don't want to hear it, but to me, it's a problem because if you're going to sit there and take people's kindness and live off of it, the least you could do is repay that. And it's nothing for y'all to go defecate in one area of dirt somewhere. It's not like this ain't hard to do. Like this ain't difficult. You ain't got to do it all in the street. I see homeless people just pee. I was on Bourbon Street one time doing Essence Festival. Dude just peeing. Everybody just pee on it. I'm like, dude, what? Why? Now we can say mental health. We can say all this stuff, but all of them are not mentally disturbed. All of them are not veterans. You talk to a lot of these people. They're getting over. I'm sorry. I got a problem with you having to go over there and clean up somebody's boo-boo when they can go off somewhere where nobody is and boo-boo. Y'all can go to one area and use a bathroom. And where I'm from, they were putting porta potties up for them.
They're doing that in Los Angeles too. We have porta potties and also officers that in where the encampments are. It's like they're called safety officers or health officers.
So I should never see. So then if I saw porta potties and wash stations. I should never see y'all using the bathroom on the sidewalk where people got to walk. Like it's too much. I'm sorry.
But here's my thing is I think there's two kinds. I think there's two different or many different kinds of homeless people. But I mean, I think that there can be people that just fell on hard times. I've had, there was a whole family living in an RV that I let live on the farm for a couple years. And I think they just really fell on hard times and I helped them both get jobs and got them a place to live eventually. And so I think it can go either way. But I also think, they made bad decisions to end up living in the RV with 5 children. But me, as someone who believes that it's my job to be the best cell in the body on this planet, I was also going to do my best to support them.
But Mollie, I'm not even judging how they became homeless because you can follow. I mean, anything can happen. I get it. I'm talking about once you're homeless, you don't have to destroy the area. Like you don't have to do it. And I'm
No.
like, and to me, it's wrong. Like you don't like people are literally every day somebody's coming up to you, either giving you food, giving you money, giving you clothing. I mean, the least you could do is not piss in the area. Like I mean, I'm not asking for a lot.
You want to hear a crazy homeless thing here in California? So I have some tiny houses that I built on my farm. They're beautiful bamboo floors, granite countertops, cute little tiny houses. You saw them.
Yeah.
Now I'm not allowed to have them and they want me to get rid of them. One of my options is if I disconnect them from septic, electric, and water, and I just park them on the street, then they'll be unhoused people, and there's nothing the county can do about it. So listen to that crazy. So, in a state where we're going to talk about equity all day long and talk about how stuff is not fair and how you have a person who has 27 acres of abundance, like true God's abundance, like food and milk from the cows and food from the ground and fruit trees and everything. And we're sharing with everybody. And that's illegal. But if I put them on the street, disconnected from power and everything, then that somehow is, we have to look the other way because they're homeless. Wrap your head around that. It's so, so, so crazy. Like, well, okay, what do you want me to do to make these houses compliant? If that's your concern, let's do that. But not let's just make them homeless people living with no running water and no electricity. And then there's nothing that they can do about it. That's crazy.
To me, it's funny that these global elite, on one hand, they say there aren't going to be enough jobs for people to survive. Then they say, you know, AI is going to be taking the job. So my question is, if you're not going to be able to work, who's going to take care of you? Like, I'm like, people, just think for a second. They're telling you you're not going to be able to work. They're not going to spend time taking care of you. They're going to put you in, like, they're going to put you in a camp somewhere until it's time for you to be terminated. Like, so again, all of this stuff we're talking about, all these virtue signals, they all lead to people being in camps, going one by one, getting exterminated. So
I
one
mean,
these
look
people,
in Canada, they're already saying like if you're homeless and you want to kill yourself, you could do
yeah,
that.
you can go to the maid center. Yeah, it's crazy. Like yeah. I want you to talk about your new venture that you have going on. Um, I want you to articulate to the people what the vision that you laid out and how it's coming to how it's manifested. And
So I wanted to come up with a business that was in alignment with everything that I love and am committed to, and in what my skill set is. I am a successful restaurateur, farmer. And so the idea is we bought this 200 and something acres in Texas, and we are basically going to build a brewery. We've already bought all the equipment and we're setting up a brewery, and then we're setting up a like a tiny hotel, but it's all tiny houses, and then an on-farm restaurant and event space where you could have family reunions, you could have weddings, you could have quinceañeras, or it could be commercial retreats for, different companies. And so this business has multiple streams of revenue, and it's a really good business model as people are wanting to get to connect and are working remotely and want to do retreats and do things together. But if all the world falls apart, it is also a really great compound. Food, distilling abilities, the abilities to make medicine, all of those things. So this is a great business plan for now. And if End of Days keeps going the way it's going, it's also going to be a place that's worth defending, and we'll have lots of place for people to stay because there's going to be all these tiny houses and rooms and commercial kitchen and gathering halls for having meetings and all of that. So I really wanted to come up with a business that's in my skill set and that would be putting energy into something that makes money now, and for the future it had a dual use. And so I came up with this Sovereignty Ranch concept, and we are raising money right now. And we've already started. We're already building the first event space. We're doing the first event there in October. All the brewery equipment is there. We're starting to build the brewery. And I think it's a really good investment because it has a dual purpose. The first purpose is to make money and have revenue streams now, and the second purpose is to have a place that's worth defending and can feed and house many people in a community if we have to move outside of the system.
Quick question. Somebody
That's our
said,
ranch.
would they be able to come and work on the farm?
Yes, I mean, we we hire people to work all the time. We do intern programs. We have all types of different ways that people can participate on the farm, both here in California and in Texas.
Another question. Please, Chef Mollie, what type of shower and toileting will be available?
Forever? Like, I mean, there's at the event that we're with you, or just there's.
I think she means on. I guess there. I'm assuming on your
Oh,
farm.
I mean, there's multiple regular houses there that have regular bathrooms. We've made a shipping container that for the camping area that has 3 real bathrooms with bathtubs and toilets and flushing toilets and all of that. We also have composting toilets. There's hot showers and cold showers. We have a cold plunge. There's a pond, and all the regular ways and the outdoor ways are available. And for the at the event that Blanchard is doing, not all the bathrooms are going to be built, so we're also going to be renting a shower trailer at that time to put in the campground area.
They also hoping I could use the outhouse. I was excited.
You can use an outhouse for an experience.
I would like to see how it is. You know, I got to get used to this stuff. I got to get used to, waking up to the rooster, getting up, put my overalls on, getting to work, man. So I got to get used to it.
Little by little.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time we have. How much time do you think we got to get used to it? I mean, when are they going to launch? When are they going to tell us to turn in all of our dollars and go to the?
Well, that's coming soon. So I don't think we're going to have another. I don't think we're going to have an election. I don't. Somebody's telling me we're not going to have it. I don't know. They're going to do something, and I think once that happens, you're going to start seeing a lot of chaotic stuff take place. This is my opinion. I don't know. They said by 2030. I don't know. I believe them. Although I don't know how you're going to get that many people to be happy with nothing unless you do something very drastic. Like it's going to have to be something very drastic, whether it be some fake aliens, some fake disasters. It's going to have to be some kind of events to make people want to, okay, what do you want us to do? We'll give it all up. I can imagine they got some fake aliens on TV and the aliens say, give up all your guns, give up all your land. The aliens somehow are so liberal. They want you to give up everything and become a slave. So, yeah, I mean, I can just see them doing something.
I don't know.
I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so basically, Mollie has a vision in place that's dual purpose. Right now, I guess we can go to this space and we can learn how to farm, but also we can work and also we can have events there. I guess also we can.
I mean, there's multiple streams of revenue. There's going to be on-farm dinners. There's going to be the brewery, kombucha. We have a really good kombucha line here in California. And I mean, it's not like I'm like, oh, I have this like idea about beer. Like my beer is in Whole Foods. Like these are things I already know about that we're putting together all on one.
Hold on, what's your kombucha and what's your beer?
It's not in Whole Foods there. It's only here because our capacity. But now that we're going to Texas to have more capacity, we'll get to go there. But it's Sage Brews and Boozy Booch is our kombucha. But so our intention is to have the kombucha, have the beer, and all of these things, these products that will be also distributed. So there'll be off-farm sales as well as on-farm sales. I'm really great at making vinegar. I make like a couple thousand gallons of persimmons vinegar every year. And so we'll have other products like vinegar and pickles and hot sauce. And
So let's say I want to invest, right?
yes.
But let's say I wanted to invest in, let's say I wanted to invest in the beverages, and I wanted to invest in the, like, do my
So
investment.
the farming is not going to be part of the investment because it's a bad investment. And I've every time I've taken money and made, I always return, I want my investors to get return on
Yeah.
investment. And so I wouldn't take, for the farming aspect, we're not taking any investment. It's only in the farm stays, the like little rooms that are going to get rented out, and the beverages and the on farm restaurant. That is the part that is part of the investment. The farm will be there, and it's the background of all of that. But I would never risk other people's money with farming because I'm well aware of how hard it is to make that work.
Okay.
So the investment is strictly in the hospitality and beverage part of the business, and the farm business is the background of that business. But I'm taking all the liability in that area.
Okay.
But if the end of times comes as fast as we think, we're going to be happy about that background.
But the background is what's, pushing the hospitality and the.
Yes, it's what the people are coming to see and do and look at.
Now, do you charge for folks to come to the farm and learn how to farm?
We are going to do a homesteading course in March. I have the dates out, but I haven't put any. You can't buy tickets yet, but you can put your email in if you're interested. But our intention is to do a 1 week homesteading course in March of this coming year, where people would be able to milk a cow. They would be able to make cheese. We could make hot sauce, kimchi, or sauerkraut, seed saving, making plants, making clones, like all these different basic practices, going collecting eggs, making an omelet from your own eggs, other kind of food preserving techniques, making tea, medicinal herbs. And so it's a 7-day course, and it'll be, an out in the nature kind of course in the morning and course in the afternoon. And then the middle part of the day will be more of a lecture or books or learning about, canning, what the pH has to be for canning food and stuff like that. So you don't get botulism and die.
Somebody asked, "Is it a family event?" No, it's not a family event.
No,
I
but
guess.
no, there's a kid's ticket. There it is.
Okay, yes, there's a kid's ticket.
And there's kids programming, but it's not all the time. So you will have to be responsible. You can't just drop your kids off. Like, you have to be responsible for your kids. But we do have some kids programming. We're gonna do some arts and crafts with the kids, and some seed saving with the kids, and going down to the pond and doing a scavenger hunt. And we have some kids programming. We have a preschool teacher and an elementary school teacher helping with that at the event.
I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get caught up with these questions. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay.
Will there be education for the children as far as farming? I think she just covered that and things.
Yes.
Um, I'm trying to decide where to go if the ish hits the fan. Costa Rica, some country in Africa. I needed an exit plan. Well, I can tell you this right now. Um, those other countries are already listen. They're compromised beyond belief. You go to Costa Rica, you're done. You go to Africa, you're done. You go
If the
to
US if as Blanchard said, if the rednecks in the US give up their guns and the US fails,
it's
like, the
over.
whole rest of the world is already over.
Yeah, it's
We're
over.
we're at the last uh, we're at the last place. I mean, I don't know. Mexico seems to be standing up a little bit, but I don't know. I don't think so. So I would say that it's unlikely that there's going to be a better scenario in other countries than here.
I'm gonna just say this. You go to them other countries, first of all, they don't have any guns. That's the first thing. They don't even have like an initial line of defense for anything. And second of all, their governments are so corrupt. You think the government over here is corrupt. Over there, it's not even. So again, I just don't think you can leave America and be safer. I don't. Although I did see something very shocking, Molly. The lady she's part of the European Union. She said there was 150 million Europeans that did not get the snake bite. And I was shocked the number was that high. And she said this next time we got to do it by force. She actually said that we got to force this next time. But I was just shocked that there was that much of a resistance over there in Europe.
I think that we didn't see a lot of the press about it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I believe it. I have some friends that have people in France and other places, and they were saying a lot of people were moving around the system.
Okay. Yeah, I saw some protests over there. Like on I think a Telegram or something. I saw people, basically getting just beat up by the police. Real police brutality for actually like fighting for your human rights. But the police are just going berserk. It was crazy. The videos I saw.
What's crazy is if we could have more unity. I know it's like right now everything we're doing is divide, 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 divide. But if you look at like what happened with all the farmers in where were all the farmers protesting? Switzerland? Where were all the farmers protesting? It was like a big thing. Well,
that was in
the Netherlands, in the Netherlands.
Yes.
So they were in the Netherlands and they formed their own party, and then they beat everybody else, and the whole Senate or whatever, I don't know what it's called over there because it's a different system, is now that farmer party. And they're stopped all the green crazy, you can't have cows farting on your farm because it's going to destroy the planet
right
program. Totally stopped it by banding together. But we as Americans have lost the ability to band together. And most of us don't even have a sense of patriotism or unity, that we are a group, that we should band together, that there is anything to protect. And it's crazy because I think that the American Constitution is an experiment worth defending. And it was one of only of its kind. And we can pick apart the flaws of the people who wrote it. But the reality is young, rich men gave up almost everything to try to give a better future and died trying. And I think that those ideas in that document, if we could get back to that, are worth defending, are worth trying to defend. And so I don't think there's anywhere else that even has that foundation. And we are way, way far away from that foundation. But I think that foundation is worth fighting for.
You mentioned patriotism, and I agree. I think they make being anti-American something cool, and they make it almost like it puts you on the right side of things. If you're against America, then you're a morally good person. I used to feel that way as well. But then as I got older, especially these last 3 years, I realized that, well, I actually live here in America, and why would I hate the country I live in? Because where am I going to go? I've been outside of America, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know any place that's better than America. And I only say that because there are people here that at least believe in freedom. Whether we're free or not is another discussion. Whether they're free is another discussion, but they actually believe in freedom, meaning that they're actually willing to put themselves on the line for their rights. And I mean, so to me, that says a lot. And they're willing to do it with violence, honestly, with the threat of violence. But I agree with you 1,000%. We got to come together now, because in a few years, it's going to be very difficult. Somebody like yourself, like you have a farm, you have this mind, but I think you're like a diamond in the rough. Most folks in your position aren't even thinking like you. You would think they are, but they aren't, because they'd be missing certain key components. Like you're kind of more well-rounded in the fact that you believe in family, God, food, like you checking off all the boxes. Most people, trust me, they're not on the outside. They look, you talk to them, no. So even the folks that even have some stuff together, it's not really together because they're still a part of this world. And
I
Like,
mean, we're all part of this world. I mean, I'm probably some dog food came from Amazon on my front porch today. Like, we're all still have 1, 2 feet, 2 hands in this world, but we need to start taking 1 foot, 1 hand and putting it and setting up this other world. Because it's easy for people to say, oh, we're just going to separate into red and blue states, or, oh, we're just going to separate into a different system of the people that don't want to take whatever is coming when it comes to the connecting with the machine, and transhumanism and all that. But that system, we have to start setting that up. We have to have a foundation for that. And also, if they do this digital currency that they're doing, it's going to be very easy for them to control our money. And I believe that owning land and owning multiple different pieces of land, if possible, is going to be harder for them to control because there's all these like different county registers and different. It's a little bit. It's still probably going to try to get it taken away at some point, but I do think that owning land, having our money in land, um, is worth something, and I think that it's worth having something to take a stand and having a place to take a stand. It's one. How can we take a stand, or how can we be ready for the revolution or the fight if we don't have a position to defend?
unified front. Yeah,
And I'm trying to set up a position to defend, and I'm trying to do it as a for-profit business that's going to make perfect sense in this world right now that we live in. And I hope we're wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Blanchard's wrong. I hope that we're nowhere near end of days and it's all just going to clear up, and it's not going to. But but if that
oh,
happens,
listen. I want to be wrong.
I
Listen,
want to be
Mollie,
wrong.
I want to
Okay?
be wrong.
God,
Believe
I
me,
want to be
believe me.
wrong.
I want to be wrong. Believe me. I need some more time to prepare.
And so,
Believe me.
but I'm doing something that is totally logical for this world that we're in, and a totally suitable business that financially makes sense. But that business is encompassing an idea of setting ourselves up for a future if it's not, how it is right now. And I do think we all talk about it, but and um in the church community we talk about it, in the health freedom community we talk about it, but not that many people are being about it. And I'm really, really, really trying to be about it, but it's hard to do it alone. So we need community.
Coming together is one thing, but coming together in righteousness is another. The body of Christ has to mobilize. This notion of ducking and running is ungodly. It's not godly. Stimulated students. I agree. I agree. We have to be proactive, and I still go back to what were God's first commandments: be fruitful and multiply. Subdue the earth and replenish it. So God's commandments still stand. Those are the first things He told people to do, and I just feel like because of sin we got so far from that. But I had a divine revelation about land ownership, about touching the earth, about having my bare, like my spirit spoke to me, and it was like you have to get back to the land. You have to get back to owning and working the land. And I didn't know why I got that revelation a couple of years ago, but now it's starting to make sense because that's what God wants. And you mentioned it perfectly earlier. You said that we wake up every day knowing that God is real. Like there's no doubt in your mind when you wake up that God has to be real. You wake up, cows mooing, birds chirping, sun shining, stuff growing. Like God has to be there. You wake up in a concrete jungle, you don't know what's going on. You seeing homeless, drug addicts, and you kind of really don't see.
The question, yeah, because it starts to seem. But I don't know who he's talking to about ducking and running. I don't think I'm ducking and running.
No, I don't think he's saying about you. I don't think so.
I think I'm standing my ground, and I'm trying to choose a place that I can set myself up to stand my ground. And I thought that was California, where I am right now. And I realized I'm not going to be able to set myself up for success, to stand my ground here. And I think that when we move to the farm, here in California 5.5 years ago, I remember being so surprised about how much we were looking up, like that everybody in the city is looking down. You're looking at your phone, you're looking at your computer, driving your car, you're looking at the radio, you're looking, and that we were looking up into the sky, like being present to the massive grandioseness of the world. And I think that that is the magic of being out in nature, is that you can see the totality of it, and it's just a tiny little um fraction of the totality of it, but when you can see that and feel that and look at that, I mean, if you watch a tadpole turn into a frog, that's a miracle. I don't care if you ever watch that happen. That's some pretty amazing things. This person is asking what's the closest city. So the closest city, we're 45 minutes from San Antonio, and we're like an hour and 45 minutes from Austin. But the closest like city is Kerrville, and Bandera is the closest town.
And an hour and what from where? An hour and what from Austin?
Hour and 45 from Austin and 45 from San Antonio.
Um, trying to see some more questions. I don't see any more questions. So he was thinking about relocating. A lot of folks thinking about Texas.
My dad just moved to Idaho, though. I think Idaho is great too. My dad, 12 years on his farm. Everything was mature olive trees, mature pecan trees, massive amounts of
in New
food
York. This in New
produced.
York.
No, this is in up by Sacramento. Do you know where Vacaville is?
Yeah, Vacaville. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's on like Cherry Glen, where that Cherry Glen Lane, Beloved Farm. And he everything had a farm store, had everything going. And same thing as me, like the county just coming down on him about every little thing. And he'd been there a lot of years, and it was beautiful, built his dream home. He had the hospitality thing going. They were making really good money doing retreats. They had 8 bedrooms for renting out, all that. And he left it all, sold it, and moved to Idaho. But he's living on this beautiful river in Idaho, and I mean, it's amazing where he's at now. So, but he realized that he does not want he's not going to die in California. It's not where he's going to live. The last chapter of his life is not going to be in California. So he's in his 60s. He's like, I could make a new business. He's starting from scratch, whole new business, whole new life, building a new house, everything.
Where's your mom? She's not.
My dad is not married to my mom. My mom lives in Hawaii. You'll meet her. She's coming in October. She's something else. She's a shaman of ayahuasca. And
Oh,
my dad is a Gnostic teacher. He like that's a very small sect of Christianity, Gnostis. And he's married.
agnostic.
What?
Is agnostic?
No, agnostic is to not believe.
I don't know. I don't know nothing about the Gnostics.
It's but and he's married, and they live in Idaho. But so my mom is in Hawaii, on a farm as well. We all are on a we're all think we need to go somewhere different, but we're all on a farm with a lot of food, a lot of community, and a lot of housing.
So your parents got divorced.
My parents got divorced when I was 23 years old. They were married for 23 years.
Okay. Okay.
And then my dad got remarried, and they've been married for about that same. I'm 45, so they've probably been married 18 years or something.
And your mom didn't remarry.
No, my mom's special. No, she's just like she's like she's a perfect example of that second wave feminism where she wants everything to kind of go a specific way and her way, and she's beautiful in her ability to bring community together, to help people heal from drug addiction and all types of stuff. But um to like surrender her beingness to a man is not probably her strong suit.
Okay. A goddess Navi says, "Hey Chef Mollie, condensed in food cans give you botulism if you eat it."
If there's like a hole, there has to have gotten oxygen into the can. So the theory of why you don't want to eat a dented can is because if there's a microscopic hole that you couldn't see, then there could be botulism inside of the can from the oxygen.
You know how many folks that I know that I grew up eating didn't like that was just the
Oh, you should Google how many people die. Okay, so I am a chef. I have a food handler's license. I was making hot sauce in a commercial kitchen, and the government of California came into my stores and took all the hot sauces and pickles and stuff and and they wrapped it in red tape and said it was what is it was like evidence, and like I didn't have the right permitting for making canned foods. And you would have thought millions of people were dying from botulism every year the way they made me throw out. They went to all restaurants at the same time. They did a sting to get the hot sauce at all the restaurants that I'd been making in my commercial facilities. So, anyways, I got in trouble for making hot sauce without a cannery license, and I had to take the cannery class and learn how to not kill people and how to can and package food. So I looked up. It's like 40 people or 12 people. I mean, it's such a small number of people. Like nobody's dying from botulism. This is
right.
people are not canning their own foods and dying all over the place.
Yeah, I didn't see so many. I done ate so much canned dinner up foods. It's not even. Yeah, come on.
But think about that. The resources of the government of California could do a sting to go to all of my restaurants at the same time to get the hot sauce to make sure that they could pour it all out and dump it in the trash.
So, Molly, would you say that you have been unfairly treated by the state of California?
100%.
Would
I
you
was in I
would
was
you
in a
say that you
contract
were? Go ahead. Go
for
ahead.
I was in a contract for $31 million for my restaurants in early 2020, late 2019. My restaurants are not worth anything today. And that deal fell apart because of everything got shut down and the pandemic. But they don't, I should be everything they want. I'm vegan, organic farmer, everything that the environmentalists, everything they say they care about. And they've destroyed my ability to make a living to the point where I am fleeing my home. Botulism exists. Oh, praise Jesus.
um,
Sorry, that's funny.
but I don't know. I just think that perspective wise, most folks would assume that you were privileged and that your life was perfect. You weren't experiencing any kind of heartaches. Like if they just was to give your bio to somebody, they'd be like, "Oh, she's privileged, nothing." But when we actually talk to you, the state is putting you through hell. Almost, I would say, intentional and antagonistic. Almost, I would say, almost oppressive. Because you think about it, they're targeting you and they're using tactics through their power. So I can't call it racism, but I can call it, I don't know, something ism.
I mean,
Food sovereign is, I don't know, some whatever the ism goes to the person that doesn't want to be tied to the government.
I think that the what I would call the independent wealth maker is under attack.
Okay.
And the person who wants to have their own business and not work for one of the large corporations or work for the government, that the person who's free thinking and the independent wealth maker that wants to create from nothing into something in the world, as I think God wants us to do, have things take on shape, form, and experience. um, I think that person is under attack, not just in California, but everywhere. I think that the small business and the independent wealth maker is no longer at the legislative table. And not only no longer at the legislative table, I think that everything is stacked against it. But I've lived my life very risky. I was actually, in true full transparency, I was crying yesterday saying, maybe I shouldn't have ever got this far. And what am I doing on this path? I'm so much financially less stable than I would be if I had just stayed in my house in the golf course estates and worked my restaurants. And, I just didn't take any of
You
these
were in
risks.
the golf. You were in the golf course estate.
A golf course estates, like country club
Yeah, I
gated.
know. I know. But you were. I can't even picture. It's funny. I can't even see you living in a place like that.
And so that's where I was living 6 years ago. And so
That is crazy.
I think about, like, I was crying yesterday, like just thinking about how much responsibility I have and how much, 4 children, and how risky everything we're doing is. And I was thinking, and then I was praying, like, God, show me the path, show me what to do next. But part of me was beating myself up. Like, I should have just done the safe thing and stayed in the safe thing. And my dad told me, um, that's not you. That's not what you signed up for in this lifetime. So people can look at me and think I'm privileged all they want, but I've taken crazy risks and been out on the skinny branches trying to do what I think that God wants me to do, trying to do what I think is best for the whole, all the time. Will we have greenhouses on campus? Yes. We're building a bunch of greenhouses. We already have some up. We're going to build 10 greenhouses total because of the volatile weather in Texas. I think it's very important for us to have a fair amount of growing spaces that are controlled. We're going to dig trenches in the field and put tubes 4 foot down all the way out into the field and then all the way back into the greenhouse. And it's going to be geothermal. So basically, about 4 feet down, it stays 50 degrees year round. So that air in the summertime will be pushing that 50-degree air in to cool it down. And in the wintertime, when it's getting cold, we'll be pushing that 50-degree air in to heat it up. And so we're going to be doing a really fun geothermal project there.
That sounds awesome. I know Kuhim is into everything related to plants and all that stuff. He's like a, what do they call him? A
Horticulturist.
horticulturalist. There's another question on here. Yeah, he said my area of expertise. I thought I had another question. I don't.
Okay, well, I should probably go breastfeed my child here.
Oh yes, we're almost at the 2 hour mark. Thank you, Mollie, so much. You want to go over the Confluent conference again? And
Yes. So we're doing a conference and it's during the eclipse. I don't know, did I say that? We're in the
yeah,
path of totality of the eclipse. It's going to be 3 days, a bunch of speakers, including Blanchard, including myself. And there's going to be education about health, about food, about growing food, about all different kinds of things. And it'll be camping in glamping tents. So you can get a tent with a bed and everything. You don't have to like bring your own tent, or you can bring your own tent for a cheaper version. It's up to you. And that's going to be happening in October. And we really hope people come. And we're going to do another one in April because there's going to be another eclipse that we're going to be in the path of totality of that eclipse. So it's exciting to have both of those. And then we're doing a raise for the Sovereignty Ranch. If you're interested in investing, you can go to sovereigntyranch.com or soaheart.com, and there's a page for telling us you're interested in to invest. And the whole deck and the budget and everything is there. If you want to look at it, you can just go browse and look and be nosy and not want to invest too. If you want, you can just look at it. And you can go to soaheart.com or sovereigntyranch.com for that. And Soaheart, Sovereignty, and Chef Mollie on Instagram. Those are the ways that you can follow us. And if you're vegan and interested in vegan food, you can follow The Kind Sage. That's my vegan restaurants.
Okay, I think she put it's in your link tree, right?
Yes. It's all in my link tree.
I think she put it on here, your link tree link. And she put it in the comments.
Excellent. But I really appreciate you. I appreciate our friendship. And I think that you've had a powerful impact on shifting some of my views that I wasn't even aware that I had, maybe. And I grew up with a mother who was very feminist and raised me in a specific way. And in certain ways, I was strong and I questioned authority and I questioned the government. But I want to say thank you to you and our friendship, because our conversations over the last couple of years have been helpful in me examining myself and helping me be the best mother and the best wife that I could be. And I'm still going to encourage you to get a wife, because you talk a lot about how to be a good husband, but till you're doing.
Hold on. Well, this was funny, right? So I asked somebody, I said, now I want you to think about my criteria for a woman. Just think for a second.
You're too picky.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, non-jabbed.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let me go first in order. God-fearing, non-jabbed, non-liberal. So them three things right there is like, now I'm down to 5%. And
5% is a generous.
5% is generous, as I'm saying, right? But listen, I do want to get married. I do. I mean, before I didn't really care, but now I actually care. It's crazy that I care when I'm older. When I was younger, I was like, man, I almost got married when I was younger, but it would have been a disaster. I know it would. It'd have been a disaster, Mollie. I'm glad I didn't.
I'm going to continue to pray for the perfect wife to show up for you. And I do know how hard it is. My cousin has the God. She wants a man that has God, unjabbed, and is not a sissy. is a man. And she's like, I mean, am I asking too much? Is that too much? Like, I want somebody that can provide, so I can be a mom and like has God in his life and can do things, that can build something with his hands, can provide for our family. And so I do know. And my friend Trevor, he also says, like, I don't feel like, I just want someone that's of childbearing age and is non-jabbed. Is that too much to ask? So I do.
People are saying we do exist. Listen, I know you. Listen, I know you all exist. I'm just saying, y'all are more rare than. Trust me, y'all. You go out in these streets, man. But again, though, I believe that now dating is more streamlined. Because you got your criteria is already set, so it's kind of like they either meet it or they don't. So it's not a whole bunch of hit and misses. It's like, no, next. So,
but yeah. I'm just saying that I think that it will be powerful. But I just wanted to really thank you before I got off and say I appreciate our friendship outside of talking in front of people live on Instagram or YouTube. But I also appreciate our friendship.
Thank you, Mollie, so much. And you guys don't really know Mollie, but Mollie is all about the big picture. She's always talking about what's going to benefit everybody. She is, I've never heard her say, I'm going to do something for myself ever. It's always been, she's always thinking about how that's going to help people, how it's going to affect the, like, so that's just her mind since I've known her. So I got to say that she's probably one of the most unselfish human beings I've ever met in my life. And I'm being honest. I mean, when I first met Mollie, she was just like, welcomed me in her home. She cooked, gave me some, I took home some fresh orange juice. And when I say fresh orange juice, I mean like orange juice with nothing in it but just juice. Like it was 100% fresh orange juice. She cooked all this food, everything. Like, so it was wonderful. But she's a great person, though. Honestly, great person. And I hate the fact that somebody this awesome and great gets labeled as something that's so disgusting. Like it's just horrible. Like, I don't know. It just makes me upset that she gets, you look at her and you say, oh, she's this, and she's the total opposite. So I just don't like that. But she is a friend, a dear person, and almost like Superwoman, honestly, because when I went to that farm, I was like, my goodness, she was breastfeeding, giving me a tour. It's just like, there's a lot going on. I'm just like, this is crazy. Like I got tired myself with no babies and no nothing. I was getting tired. So I gotta commend Mollie. I really do.
Well, I appreciate you and thank you for always uplifting and spreading whatever I'm committed to at the moment. So thank you for that. And I look forward to seeing you in October, if not before.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take
All
care.
right. All right, y'all. We love y'all. We'll see y'all soon. Thank you.